Fidgeting. We should we should normalize things like mental illnesses, and we should start with fidgeting. It's small, we do it ourselves. I gotta say, I fidget a lot with this.
Same.
I actually used to chew on the cord that I keep in my bag, but I got chewy toys, so I stopped doing that. But I started it up again recently for whatever reason.
Yeah, and I accidentally broke my fidget by hitting it with a golf club, so I pretty much just replaced it with a pen.
You hit it with a golf club?
Yeah, I was in gym class. Don't worry about it. I kind of lost the switch that was on it, but
Anyway, another thing we should probably normalize is classroom fidgets specifically, because, I'm sorry, I don't care if it bothers you, but I'm going to fidget in the class because I need that. I need to do something with my hands, all the time.
kind of something like poppets or silent fidgets, where it won't bother the class if you just keep it low and under the desk.
Yeah, just maybe a squeeze ball or something like that, or if maybe if the kid really needs it, you can have a sound one. Maybe you're in a loud classroom and they got a sound one to use, that kind of thing.
Yeah, just a silent fidget would be good.
Yeah, it's pretty normal to fidget with anything, with ADHD, anxiety, depression. It's normal to fidget. We're not nervous, We're just
extra energy,
so we get it out by messing with stuff. Like I'm currently doing, which is a great example of it. I've been fidgeting with this, and I've also been fidgeting with my tongue, as my lips, because I'll bite my lips or I'll run my tongue across my teeth. It fucking stings because my teeth are sharp as hell. So it feels like I'm giving my tongue a paper cut, but
sharp.
Another thing is we need more mental health resources for school. Regular counselor check-ins. I mean, I wouldn't like that. I don't like people getting all up in my business.
I actually wrote a paper on that in English class last year, where pretty much the idea is that only one check-in is mandatory with a counselor, and then if either the student or the counselor deems it necessary, then they would just continue showing up at specified times every month.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that. I totally lied to my counselor to make it look like I was okay, so they didn't try and pry into my life, because they don't need to know that stuff. I don't trust the counselors.
All of them except one is actually optional. So, if you don't want the help, then you don't need to get it.
I don't want the help. That's the whole point. I just want everything to be optional. You don't want to do the homework? Cool. As long as you do the big assignments, no worries. I would want that because I don't want to ever do the homework, But I'll do the big assignments, like the tests. I just wish the homework didn't count for part of my grade.
This is the big assignment.
Yes, we're doing it now. We should normalize and encourage going to the school counselor if you want, as much as you want, or as much as you need. Because, a lot of people need to see the counselor, but they can't.
Yeah, teachers will make a pretty big deal out of it if you just ask for a pass to go to the counselor, just to, I can't remember what it was. I think it was maybe a month ago or something like that. I asked my teacher for a pass to go to the counselor, and it was my first time going to that teacher for a pass for a counselor, that year, or ever actually, but pretty much, he asked, "Oh, are you okay? Is everything okay? What's going on?" So I told them that it was fine, and this is a regular occurrence. I'm fine. Everything's fine. This is fine.
Another thing that we should, one thing is we should stop sexualizing people with mental health issues. Women with depression are not hot, they're suicidal, get it right.
Exactly, I can't...
Well, I mean, some of them are hot, but
everyone is hot, but
they're not sexually hot, okay? They're hot, their physical appearance is nice, love them, they're hot, but I wouldn't don't sexualize people in general. Just don't sexualize people who don't want to be sexualized.
Exactly. Doesn't Euphoria do something like that with the mental illness or something like that?
I don't know, probably.
I've never seen the show, so don't come at me for this.
Sexualizing men with anger issues, don't, sexualize your men with anger issues.
Cough, cough, Twilight, cough, cough.
don't sexualize any gender with mental disorders.
It's just wrong. It's gross.
I
Stop.
have ADHD and anxiety. It's not cute. It's fucking horrible. I fucking hate it.
ADHD and depression.
I have
and anxiety.
I have depression too. I hate it so much. I have trouble getting out of bed in the morning. I have trouble going to bed. I have trouble doing literally any basic task, other than talking. Unless I'm with people I don't know. I can talk around anyone, and I'll usually steer the conversation so I'm the one talking.
Yeah.
But if there's people I don't know, like I'm in a classroom, I'm not going to talk. And even if I do, I'm just like, hi.
Shy baby.
And it's really awkward. Because I have really bad anxiety, so my social anxiety is just fucking terrible at any time of the day, and I can't talk to people. It's why I have friends. It's why I don't have friends.
Which one am I, a roach?
It's why I can't make friends. I do have friends. You're my friend. Mental health days are just as important as sick days. I would really love to take a mental health day off of school sometimes. There are times where I've gone to school feeling like absolute shit but not being able to do anything because I'm not feeling like sick or anything. I'm just feeling mentally down in the weather. And like I've had panic attacks on those days. I've cried on those days. I really wish I could take a mental health day sometimes.
There have been so many days in the morning where I would just literally rather do anything else than get up and go to school. But because I'm not technically sick, I still have to go to school. And no one likes that because then I just act like a depressed little shit.
Well, because you are, and it's such bullshit that they make us do that. Because, like, do you know how dumb that is?
Exactly. As we said, mental health days are just as important as sick days. Like, both of them include your health.
Yeah, and it's so stupid that people have to constantly, like, put us down for, being ourselves because, we're just trying to get in the world, and we're trying to, make our stands, and these people are like, you can't do that, you have mental disorder.
Exactly. Like, oh, you can't be happy, you have depression. You realize that depression is not just constantly affecting how you act, right?
It's honest to God not. It's the stupidest thing. I really hate when people are like, oh my God, you have depression. I wonder, does that really badly affect your constant day-to-day life? Yeah, but it's nothing I can't handle. It's actually pretty normal now. I used to not be able to handle it that well, and then I started taking meds for ADHD and anxiety, and I started getting better at handling myself, and fuck, I really want to cry right now. If that tells you anything, so.
Meanwhile, I'm still not treated for jack shit.
This
person.
Yes, scared. That's why I stopped talking. I'm sorry. I get anxious when people are nearby that I don't know. Especially adults. I don't trust adults at all.
If you can't tell, we're currently in a library.
Yeah, we're in a library right now. Another thing is a lot of people don't like talking about suicidal thoughts. A lot of teens hate talking about suicide and having suicidal thoughts because they feel like these people are just going to tell their parents, and that's not what they want. They just want help without their parents knowing is more of a thing. Like, I indulged to my therapist about things if I knew she wouldn't tell my parents. Okay? If I knew for a fact she wouldn't tell my parents, I'd tell her all the things that I very much need to. But I have a fear that she's legitimately going to go tell my freaking parents that, hey, your child is this. And I don't want that because that makes me less trusting of them. And I really, really hate it when people do that. Because I want to trust my therapist, I really do, but I can't because I know she'll tell my parents if I tell her some of the things I need to.
I regularly see the school counselor to the point where I'm on a first name basis with her. And multiple times she has brought up the idea of me going to family therapy or her asking my parents to get me tested for several mental disorders that I most likely have. And I am absolutely terrified of them even finding out that I'm talking to a counselor.
I know, that makes me like really sad that you have to go through that. I'd like to talk to my therapist about normal things, but I can't because I don't want her to tell my parents anything, and she has a bad habit of doing that without realizing it. And I really hate it, and I tell my mom a lot more than I tell my dad, that's for sure.
I tell my parents nothing.
Actually, let me pull up statistics real quick.
So, I used to actually go to a certified therapist outside of school, and I stopped going because so she had not talked to me for a while, and I was a bit scared to reach out to her. So I emailed her and it pretty much summarized where my mental state was at. And I specifically told her at least 3 times in the email, do not tell my parents any of this. I will be in very big trouble. And literally not even 5 minutes later, I hear my mom running up the stairs from the basement, and I know immediately that my therapist told her. That led to a 20-minute interrogation where my mom was yelling at me and asking a bunch of questions that I did not want to answer, and I told her multiple times that I did not want to talk to her about this, and she kept persisting. Luckily, I held my ground and she broke first and stopped asking.
Yeah, teen suicide rates. According to the American Association of Suicidology, AAS, my bad, 4,822 youths ages 15 to 24 died of suicide in 2011 in the United States. It is a teenage suicide fact that suicide was the second leading cause of death in this age group. In 2007, teen suicide was at an all-time low of 9.6 deaths per 100,000 youths. While the latest statistics collected show an almost 14% increase on this number, indicating 10.9 deaths per 100,000 youth. In the years 2011 to 2013, 2014 statistics are not yet available. Yeah, 15.8% seriously considered suicide, 12.8% made a plan for suicide, 7.8 attempted suicide 1 or more times, 2.4 made a suicide attempt that required medical intervention. And this is like 2013, so like it's probably gotten worse since then.
Especially with COVID.
And here's this one. Suicide rate highest among teens and young adults. Nearly 20% of high school students report serious thoughts of suicide, and 9% have made an attempt to take their lives, according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Recent weeks have brought heartbreaking examples of the trend, including the March 1st death of Stanford soccer captain Katie Meyer, 22, and Ohio State football player Harry Miller's revelations that he attempted suicide, shared his struggles with his coach, and got help. Miller announced his medical retirement from football on March 10th in a Twitter post that's been shared more than 10,000 times. This is not an issue reserved for the far and away. It wrote Miller, it is in our homes, it is in our conversation, it is in the people we love. Young people are particularly vulnerable to suicide, says Carl Fleischer, MD, who specializes in adolescent and child psychiatry at UCLA Health. Teenagers and young adults have the highest rates of suicide compared to other ages, Dr. Fleischer says. The things that make them vulnerable are where they stand socially and where they stand developmentally. Developmentally, their judgment and decision-making abilities are still coming online, he says. The prefrontal cortex, the brain's executive control center, doesn't fully develop until one's mid-20s. That makes young people more impulsive, Dr. Fleischer says. They're not going to weigh risks and consequences or values in quite the same way that older folks will. Socially, teens and young adults don't have the same connections older adults do. Someone who is married, has a long-term partner, has children or grandchildren, is in a different place socially than someone who's just coming into their own, living with roommates or alone. The isolation of the pandemic exacerbated social disconnection even more. So, yeah, it's gone up a lot since then. It's up to 20%, so it's gained, 14 to 20, that's 6%. It has gone up 6%, and I will say I've had some bad thoughts before, but I got better, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't. Anyway, yeah, we really need to normalize stuff, fix everything, this is really serious problem, and what we want is for people to start to normalize things, like start normalizing stuff in the classroom, start normalizing stuff at work, start normalizing, like adults can have ADHD and stuff too. It's not just kids too. Like there's dissociative identity disorder. Stop fake claiming people. Someone who's 50 can have multiple personalities. It comes in at a young age. It's trauma related.
When I first told my mom that I had depression and I actually got tested and for something else actually. I got tested for ADHD. I should probably start over with this entire thing. Okay. So, once I told my mom that God dang it, I cannot talk.
No one can. Well, I mean, I can. I've been talking for like 5 minutes nonstop without much problem because, then again, I'm used to that, just talking, carrying conversations myself.
Let me just back this whole thought up. Okay, so I told my mom that I was depressed, and her first reaction was to first take me upstairs away from my sister, who was also in the room at the time. I emailed her this, by the way, and she pretty much just summarized everything I told her as me being hormonal. And while hormones probably do play a pretty big role in how we feel, depression is not just being hormonal. I did eventually get clinically diagnosed with depression, but that was when I got tested for ADHD and masked my symptoms so well that I got diagnosed with depression instead. That was fun.
No, it wasn't. Don't lie.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I guess really that's kind of it. That's what we're going to talk about. We want to normalize it. We're going to start with being in the classrooms. Classrooms, workplaces, just normalize stuff, okay? That's all you have to do.
Normalize mental illness and stop sexualizing it.
That is the true plan.